All right, hello, welcome to this edition of Squeeze Hands TV. I'm Holly Jaleski, your host and creator of Squeeze Hands, the emotion soother that reduces your emotions in under 2 minutes. And today we have a very special guest with us, Aubrey Scarr. She is a voice teacher. I've been taking voice lessons from her for several months. I don't remember how many months, but several months. And I started taking voice lessons from her because I like to sing, and I figured people around me wanted to be able to enjoy my singing a little more, and also because I'm a speaker and I wanted to improve my speaking skills. And then what happened in the process is realizing that the way she teaches was helping with my confidence and just speaking to people, like going to parties. She teaches methods that help me breathe better so that I didn't get so tired when I would be at a party or when I would need to be in a networking event or wherever where I was talking to a lot of people. And it just really helped. A lot of people feel anxiety when they're in crowds, and having these breathing methods that I practice every day and that I can practice on the way to the event really helped me to just be able to enjoy talking to people more and feel more confident about that. So I wanted her to come on today and talk a little bit about what she does and to share some of the exercises with you guys. And then she has a great offer for you that she'll share with you at the end. Welcome, Aubrey Scarr. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about the what you teach in voice. I've been doing it for a while, but I'd love to hear what's going on that really does help with that, reducing the anxiety and helping us feel more confident when we're speaking.
Sure. So basically, a little bit about my training. I'm a classically trained singer, and I have a Master of Music from UCLA. And classically trained singers, you always think of somebody who's singing scales in the background or singing very operatically, doing something that many people think is kind of superhuman or something that they can't achieve, when truly it's a repeated skill. Now, a lot of us were born with moms and dads who are like, you have a really pretty voice, you should be singing. But the skill comes with the repetition and learning and breaking down the technique. Mm-hmm. So old school, we used to kind of teach people to sing scales and repeat these scales over and over again. And what we were finding is it wasn't really building any kind of home base for people to go back to. It was just kind of moving the voice, moving the air, but not giving us a clean, like, how do I start my sound? How do I continue my breath? Mm-hmm. These are how our sound works. We're basically wind instruments like a flute or a saxophone. We have to have really good, solid, stable breath underneath us to be able to produce a good quality tone while we're singing or speaking. And how this has really translated in teaching for me is I've found that many of my students tend to struggle from performance anxiety, whether they're a speaker or a teacher or a singer. They tend to have difficulties with their breath when they go to perform. They tend to have difficulties with their tension and being able to release that tension. Yeah. So I have taken my method and my technique all the way back to the roots to help us get started with just basic release of anxiety, release of tension, learning how to connect and manage your full breath, and really just getting you started on that basis.
Yeah.
So when you were talking earlier about anxiety and confidence, it was just making my heart so happy to hear you say that, because that is what I want most of all for my students. Yes, I want you to have an amazing, phenomenal presentation. I want you to sing your heart out at your performance. But more than anything, I want you to feel confident in yourself, to be able to speak to people naturally, to share your message, to share a little bit about who you are and your own authentic self without feeling restricted by your voice.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I didn't say that's wonderful is that we do this online. We do it via Skype. So you're accessible to everybody. So And
Yes.
that's what I've been
Yeah.
really grateful for, is that I don't have to, go. I can do it right here on Skype, and it works really well. I mean, who knew that it actually would work, but it really does work really well.
Oh,
So,
it makes me so happy because it makes me be available to more students and be able to share this with more people, which I really believe in this method. So I'm excited to share it with people.
yeah. And so, one of the things that just occurred to me that I wanted you to talk about, that I really have enjoyed, is you talking about the breath coming up through the vocal cords. And
Mhm.
and so many of us, I know I work at it constantly, we're kind of speaking from this tightness, this
Mhm.
pressure in our neck. And when you
Yeah.
started teaching me about allowing the breath to move through the vocal cords, it was just like you get all this tingly feeling in your brain, and it's just like, oh, my brain is functioning, and I can think, and it's fantastic. And who knew, right? I mean, I
Right.
had singing lessons and all that when I was, in grade school, because they taught that, but they just did the do re mi fa sol, whatever. And you
Yeah.
really get to the basics, and you have such an excellent way of explaining, so that I can visualize. I can go, oh, the air is going through here, and explaining that.
Yeah.
And so I wanted
Yeah.
you to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we use our voices, it's very much like how a bird flies. So we have air pressure underneath our vocal folds, and then we have air pressure above our vocal folds, and they work together to make them vibrate. And when we just allow our breath to work the way it naturally does, then they just vibrate naturally. We have a great confident sound. But what happens is over time, and because of anxiety most often,
Yeah.
we get a lot of tension in these areas. We get tension in our jaw because our fight or flight makes us chomp down. We get tension in our tongue because our tongue will rise, our whole voice box and everything will rise in our throat to kind of help us, because our breath feels high. Everything's really high and tight, and all of a sudden, all of this, what would be open and natural and allowing the breath to just be free, has clamped down around it, and it's become a kink in the hose.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this beautiful flow of air. If you watch a baby breathe, it just inhales and exhales into its belly. They're not trying to manipulate their airflow in one way or another. That's why when a baby cries, it surprises a lot of people, because all of this big natural sound just comes right out of them. And they're not growling or screaming or making any kind of effort here. It's all from the body. It's all from that wonderful natural flow of air.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to kind of remember, is over time, anxiety is a huge factor. Also, regional, where we grew up, what we grew up speaking. If you grew up speaking a language with a dialect that brings everything back and down and behind, and then your air is just going to stop kind of flowing. It's going to kind of sit back in here in the jaw, versus if you were brought up speaking Italian, which is this big, boisterous, forward-placed language with open vowels. You're going to have a very different idea of how your voice and how your language works.
Uh-huh. Wow. Okay, cool. And so, so you're going to share with us a couple of exercises that we did, and
Yes.
that you and I have done, that I really
Yes.
love and that I do regularly. And was there anything else about the backstory that you wanted to talk about before we get into those?
Well, what we're going to talk about first is really going to touch on how to help you manage your anxiety,
Okay.
which is just so integral to being able to use your voice in the way that you truly want to, and being able to just speak to people, like you said, at a party, at a networking event. Just, I mean, honestly, sometimes it's hard to just talk to people out in the world on any given day if you're having real difficulty with your anxiety. So when you think about an anxiety attack, or just feel that little monster creeping up on you, the first place to look is your breath. And so we're going to do a breath resetting exercise, and it's really simple. You can do it from any chair, so long as you can bend forward in that chair. So I'm going to just move us very quickly to here so you can see me do this exercise. Move down just a little bit. And so what we tend to do with our rib cage is we'll either flare it up and out this way, or we'll tuck it in and crumble this way. Both of these manipulate our diaphragm into a position that makes it hard for it to do its job.
Yeah.
So to help us reset our breath, we're just going to simply come out to the edge of our chair and we're going to fold forward. Can you see me?
I'm going to disappear for a minute.
Okay. So I'm folded forward in my chair and I'm holding on to my legs. Now the reason I'm holding on to my legs is I want to try and fill up my belly with air. So I'm going to take in a nice deep breath here. As you're doing this deep breathing, a few cues you want to think about, excuse me, what you want to think about is allowing the shoulders, the neck, the mid-spine, the jaw, all of these things to relax. We need to get these guys down and out of the way so that our natural breath will come back to us. At the same time, because we're pulling our body into our legs, we're resetting that rib cage to a nice natural position, which means our diaphragm can now rise and fall naturally as we breathe. So the more you breathe in that position, I would recommend at least 6 cycles of your breath, upwards of 10, 12 if you have the time for it, especially if you're struggling with an anxiety attack. Upwards of 10 to 12, perfect for you. This invites oxygen into your body. This allows all of these mechanisms that want to clench up from anxiety to just drop and get uninvolved with the breath. And at the same time, you're resetting your diaphragm. So you're just setting your whole self up to breathe naturally and comfortably.
And what I love about it is that the air goes all the way down my spine, because I think of belly breathing and stuff. But what I noticed before I started working with you is that I was breathing like on the front of my body, because, you know, they always say, take a deep belly breath and stuff, which I was doing, but it wasn't going to the back of my body. It wasn't like my whole lungs were getting to use. And the other part that I learned from you is how the diaphragm goes down and up instead of just out, which is how I was thinking about it. And now having the visual of knowing that the diaphragm, you know, expands and contracts, and that, you know, when I breathe, the lungs are on both sides of my body. I mean, I knew that, but I wasn't breathing like that.
Right. And you have to visualize certain things to be able to kind of incorporate them into your body, because self-monitoring, and if you're watching someone else, you tend to mirror them, which means you're going to mirror what you see. And oftentimes that's just the front. We don't even think about what's going on behind and below or back, you know, any of those things that we can't see while we're mirroring.
Yeah.
So this gives you a nice physical feedback. And I love that you said you can feel it going down your spine, into your low back, into those areas that we don't really get to access if we don't focus on them and give them the time.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a beautiful feedback sensation to have when you're trying to get this nice, low, relaxed breath.
So I'm wondering, would you stay upright and then just walk us through step by step and let the audience go through the exercise and then count? Because oftentimes you'll count for me.
Absolutely.
In that position,
absolutely.
You'll stay there and then walk us through and count us, and just do like maybe 3 full cycles of that.
Sure,
just so that
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
So I'm going to leave again.
So you're just going to sit in your chair and plant your feet. They don't need to be shoulder width apart, but they need to be planted into the ground to give you a little feedback.
Okay.
Then you'll fold forward as far as you can. Now, we're not trying to have a competition with your low back. So if your low back says, hey, this is as far as I can go, that's great. Only go as far as your back will allow. Next, you're going to grab onto your legs with your arms, just to give you a little bit of a hug. Then I want you to concentrate on relaxing your shoulders, your neck, your jaw. Great. Breathe just normally for now. Get some of that just give yourself permission to relax these mechanisms, okay? Next, you're going to breathe in. I'm going to count for you. So we'll breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to blow out an imaginary candle on the floor for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale again for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale again for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last one, inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Really let that back expand, and exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Come up nice and slow. You might feel a little bit dizzy from all of the oxygen you just invited into your body, which is wonderful. Great. Now, you might have noticed that I asked you to exhale for a little bit longer than I asked you to inhale. Yeah. And the reason for that is very often, in fact, 99% of the people I've worked with are having more trouble exhaling all of their air than taking a nice full inhale. Yeah. And the reason that happens is our brain gets this signal that we have a backup of CO2. We're not exhaling all of that CO2. Yeah. It's just going to keep taking short breaths to try and help us refill. So we've got to concentrate on a full, complete exhale, and then naturally allow that air back in. And your brain's going to receive all these messages. You might yawn a little bit. It's going to be so excited that you're giving it the oxygen it needs to do its job. So it's all beautiful stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, because I did want to ask about that. So, all right. And then the next exercise.
Yes. So now that you've got a good breath, I'm sorry. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Now that you've got a great breath working for you, the next exercise is all about letting that anxiety out of yourself, letting the air, and this has a lot to do with exhalation too. So we're now sitting upright. Our ribs are in a good place. We're relaxed. We're sitting there just enjoying the full oxygenated body that we have. We're going to take a nice deep breath in, and we're going to make like a horse sound. It goes a little something like this. Excellent. So as you, it's a little tickly. Absolutely, for sure. It tickles a bit, and it just really requires a full exhale. It's hard for a lot of people to do this at first. There's a little stutter in the lips. There's a bit of a stuckness in the throat. So all that's required is a nice deep breath. The lips should be touching on the outside instead of kind of closed on the inside. This is one of my husband's favorite exercises before he does any public speaking. Yeah. If you start to stack breath, which happens a lot when we get anxious before we speak, when we start to feel that, and it's funny, you'll know if you start yawning as well that you're shortening on breath, right? And that's one of the funniest things that a lot of speakers do, is they yawn before they speak. Yeah. They're not breathing anymore. They're forgetting to take in those nice deep breaths. And you can't do a lip trill or a horse sound without taking a nice deep breath. So before you get out of your car, before that big party you're going to, that you're just really wound up about, sit, reset your breath, and do 5, 6 lip trills. The other thing I love about this is it's silly. I mean, you're making a silly noise, right? And it's just kind of reminds you that life is just not that serious, and we can manage this. And if the silliest thing you do all night is make lip trills in your car while somebody's walking by to go to the party, then that's the silliest thing you did all night. Congratulations, go and enjoy yourself.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I do. I'll do it in the car. I'll do it in the car on the way, or, if I'm going to the bathroom and taking a break, then I'll just do it and and it's just amazing. It's just like, ooh, it's like I can breathe again, and it makes you laugh, and it makes you realize, okay, this is all not that serious. We don't have to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so glad that does it for you. Yeah, it's one of the things that I don't even realize. I just kind of walk around doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I meet a new group of friends, it becomes just kind of an inside joke because they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm relaxing." Try it. It's great.
Practicing my horse character.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Pardon me.
Yeah. And if you feel like it, you can also add sound. If you're, you can add sound and do the, we just are doing the lip trill, but you can also add sound to it if you just feel like making some kind of funny sound.
Yes.
And that is also
Making sound is the next step to that.
Yeah.
And the only thing I want you to think about when you start adding sound is that, and this is a concept that we kind of discuss a lot during our voice lessons, is that sound doesn't come from the voice box, it moves through the voice box. So as you go to make a sound, if you sigh in the morning, you don't go, ah, you don't try to control it. You just open up and and let all that sound through. Same with your lip trills, except for you've got this little closure here. So it's just.
And the other thing I recognize when I do it, if I'm doing it really correctly, is again, your whole body kind of starts tingling. And because that way it's coming from your whole body, and it just makes you feel good. So
oh, that's so great. That's great feedback. That's fantastic. Anytime you feel connected to your body, your anxiety is just going to drop. It just is. What we do when we're anxious is we start kind of writing out, we feel like we can tell the future, right? We have this weird sixth sense, and we're starting to put all these negative futures in front of us, and all of this stuff starts to jump up. You're no longer connected to yourself, to your own authenticity, to your own ideas and what you want to bring forward. You're just kind of living in this little fear bubble.
Yeah.
These are going to take you right back to connecting to your body, which is going to remind you, this is who I am. And that's going to help you to just bring everything back down a notch as well.
Perfect. Thank you. So,
of course, my pleasure.
Yeah. So if you guys want to learn more about what Aubrey does, she's put together a special offer for you. And I highly recommend it. It's just been a fantastic, as you can see, they're really fun exercises. It's not about seeing how good you sound. It's not about that at all. And so you want to tell us about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I have put together a 30-minute deep breathing and anxiety reducing lesson for your Squeeze Hands community. Right. And basically we're going to take 30 minutes. We're going to discuss kind of where your anxiety tends to sit. For some of it's in our shoulders. We clench our jaw. Maybe we feel like we have a frog in our throat. All of these things we can address. We'll get a few exercises and stretches to help you overcome some of those seated tensions. And we're going to get really, really into that deep breathing. So all of that in 30 minutes online at your convenience. I'll send the link to Holly so that you guys can learn a little bit more about it. And then you can always, if you have questions, you can email me directly. I'm at abraveNewsSong@gmail.com.
Okay, great.
And I have an Instagram account that you can follow that I put up how the voice works. I put up some affirmations and some things that help us to really connect to ourselves. We'll cover breath, and we cover a lot of tension release techniques, because that's really where I like to focus, is to help people just get out of their throats and into their bodies. And that is at,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
And the Instagram is at they're underscored, brave_new_voice.
Yeah, and it's a really informative page. I mean, the different diagrams that you did, and like you had the one showing about the birds flying, and how our voice relates to it. You provide a lot of good information there. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. So, and then your website, and then you have I'll put all this.
Yes, my website.
Yeah.
is aubreyscarr.com, and then there's a /voice-lessons.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And
And you can find out all kinds of information about voice lessons on that page. You can connect with me via email or whatever works best for you.
okay. Perfect. And again, we'll put all the links to this in the show notes and where the video is. So you'll be able to find all that. And yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. This was really fun. Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. And so any final thoughts that you want to share with our
the last thing I just want to share with you is that truly, truly, we all deal with anxiety on different levels, and it's okay to just thank your anxiety for being there. It really is trying to tell you certain, messages, and then go ahead and release it. That's all we can do, is just find different ways to thank it and release it. So I want to encourage you to not try and beat yourself up about your anxiety, but just thank your anxiety for the mornings and then release it.
Yeah, I love that you shared that. It's so true, because we all do want to beat ourselves up. That shouldn't go that way.
Yeah.
And that's
But truly, every person is dealing with anxiety on on different scales and levels every day of our lives. So there's no reason to give yourself any guff about it.
Yeah, thank you. And this is when in the voice lessons that she teach, it's like another tool in your toolbox that you can use. Like squeeze hands is one tool, and meditation.
Absolutely.
In the voice lessons, it's another tool that we all get to utilize, that you can really utilize in your car, anywhere. And so
absolutely. I mean, correlating these breathing techniques with squeeze hands is a brilliant idea, because it gives you an activity to do that can help you get out of your head while you're trying to get into your body.
Yes.
So I absolutely agree.
Yeah. So, all right. Thank you so much for joining us. And
my pleasure.
Yeah. And thank you, audience, for joining us. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment below. We would love to hear from you. What was your favorite part of this? What was your favorite exercise that Aubrey taught to us? And then we will see you again next week. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.